other than Vayechi Miriam Yerushalmi. Representative Yerushalmi will be announced, and he is amazing. So we are so excited. Thank you so much. We can start.
Thank you. It's really a real pleasure to be part of your organization, your efforts to bring, knowledge and support and sisterhood of women getting together on a weekly basis. And I'm just really touched that you do what you do. Baruch Hashem. Today's topic is about the hidden blessings based on Vayechi Parsha, on the pasuk Chachlili Enayim Miyayin. And as you may have noticed, the hidden blessings is the title. And very fascinating, if you look at all the brachas that Yaakov gave his children, it's just sometimes baffling to see like what the blessing was. I mean, if you just read it at face value. And this teaching comes from the Alter Rebbe from Torah Or, which was translated by and adopted by Yitzchak David Wagshal, and he brings us the deeper meaning of the blessings, because whatever Yaakov gave his children, he gave us. It's our inheritance. It's in our DNA of our soul, and it's messages to us of how to acquire a more free-flowing channel to receive all of the blessings. And he begins by teaching us that, if you look at this pasuk, like that you should have red blood, shot eyes, like as if, a person drinks wine and they get so intoxicated, their eyes get red, and that there should be a blessing that, the person should have white teeth. Like, what? Like, what does this mean for me today, and how, when I understand what this blessing is, how do I access this blessing? And make it more and more revealed. So the example is given like two lovebirds that are staring at each other and gazing at each other's eyes, that they're staring so deeply and so continuously that their eyes start to hurt and actually start to get red. Also, when you drink wine and people's eyes get a bit red, we know that the reference to wine in Jewish philosophy is the Torah. So that the person who is so one with Hashem since learning Torah, that they become lovesick, they become so intoxicated, they become so joyful, like wine makes a person joyful. And not only that, just like wine actually brings out the secrets, when we learn Torah in this way, it helps bring out the secrets within us and the secrets, hidden blessings that Hashem wants to give us. So when you think about this process of being able to have more and more of the real you redeemed, because in the DNA of our soul, we are not only gifted with all this inheritance from our forefathers, but we are chelek Elokai mamish. We have like everything within us that's everything godly within Hashem himself. We've been gifted all these holy, positive emotions, all the 10 spheres, which is the incredible, emotional, beautiful traits that we have. And it's like it's there. And it's ours forever. It's just a matter of drinking, as it were, ingesting and allowing the godly wisdom of our Torah to bring out these incredible emotional qualities and intellectual qualities that God gifted us with. So it goes into the detail that just like when wine comes in, when secrets comes out, the longing and yearning and the deep secret of who we really are is to be, more godlike and more refined and more like open and revealed, all these amazing parts of us that sometimes get blocked, hidden because of the day-to-day life struggles, challenges of even just like the physical tasks that we have to do in our daily routine. If you remember when the whole story about Yitzchak and digging wells, it also was in reference to like we have to dig, and then the gushing of these living waters will come out, and the living waters is in reference to all the holy powers, all the holy essence of our being. When we more and more dig by digging into our learning, digging into our prayers and meditations, that it helps bring to the open all these hidden secrets, including our yearning and longing to have deveikus and oneness with Hashem. And there's like different levels of love of Hashem that is described here. That depending on how you build your day and how you prioritize your day, and make room and make available some time to do these types of spiritual practices, the more you'll reach higher and higher levels of love. So there's the Avat Olam level of love, and it's based on thinking about the world and how God is so kind to you in this world, and how grateful you are that he provides you a roof over your head, and that he gives you food, and you see God's majesty in the world, and you meditate on all the things that you have to be grateful for. And because through the experience of what you get in this world, you end up having a greater love and appreciation for him. So that starts with Modani in the morning. That starts with all the brachot in the morning. You're actually thanking Hashem that you're not bent, and that you're straight, and that and all the things that we do pay attention to and gifted by God. And it's so easy sometimes just to read through it and barely really think it through. But the more you stop and really pay attention and really start to feel this gratefulness to Hashem for the things he gives you in this world, then this love of Hashem gets created. Like example, like you have a friend, and the more you think about how great she is to you, oh my gosh, when you were sick she came with the chicken soup, and oh my gosh, that she made a meal train, and you're just like, the more you think about what she did for you, and you just like love her more. So the same thing, of course, with Hashem, and even more. But there's a drawback with that, because as soon as you stop thinking about Hashem in prayer, or then it won't be as present. It's there always, but you won't as much feel it. You won't connect to it. It could dissipate. It could kind of wane and wax away, as it were, as you get involved in the busyness of your day. Then there's a type of love that comes about through the study of Torah that really gladdens your heart. And this love is called Ahavat Rabbah. It's like a great love. And definitely when you begin your day learning prayer, it stimulates this beginning like foundation for the rest of the work that you may hopefully have the time to do, to increase your ability to love Hashem even more than just what he did for you and just what he does for you. And this is a type of love, it's an eternal love that another word for it is ahavat betanugim. It's such a great love that it can be so gushing forth, and it then moves into all aspects of your being. That you feel so connected from this great love of Hashem, from learning Torah, that this hidden love that's buried deep within you comes gushing out. And this is not dependent necessarily on contemplating and meditating. It comes from, learning Torah. As they say, for those of you who may be new to my sharing the deep teachings of the Torah, the whole purpose of prayer is to open your heart. And the whole purpose of opening your heart in prayer, so the fiery words of prayer kind of make your heart ready and open itself up to be able to then draw forth the learning Torah that will then act like not only an agent to reach new heights and the ability to really have this type of love, a greater love of Hashem, but it also acts like milk, where it whitens your midot. And that's why in the blessing it says, once you do this devekas, this kind of devekas comes from the word from glue, you're like the two doves, they're glued eye to eye together. Then you end up getting to such a level of love from teaching Torah, learning the Torah, that it acts like milk, and supposedly milk whitens your teeth. At least the milk of, I guess, back then. So, and that's why the blessing was that, that we all get this incredible whitening power to clear away our negative emotions and our negative character traits, and polish them up and make them shine with what is really true in our soul. So. What happens in this process of learning Torah is that our desire, our ratzon, becomes more concrete. Our desires for holiness, our desires to have that greater wherewithal to combat that Yetzer Hara, actually becomes less of a battle, and our will and our desire becomes more aligned with God's will and God's desire, so there's not such a struggle. Just like we just celebrated Hanukkah, and we saw the flame, and we saw that the darker flame was representing the struggle we have. It's dark, it's not easy, but the more and more we allowed God's wisdom, which is another metaphor, oil, to seep into our body, into our mind, into our heart, then the higher flame, the brightness becomes more apparent. Because yes, there's first a struggle, but the more we do the right deeds and make more of an effort to integrate and infuse God's wisdom into our mind and heart, then we become a shining light. Then the struggle is less. Then we have freer days from the inner avenger, this Yetzer Hara, this evil inclination that can bombard us and trick us and get us to behave in a way that's contrary to our real will and our real desire. We as women, how truly holy we want to be for everyone. But yet the circumstances sometimes, catches us off guard, and we fall prey to, kind of betraying the standard we so want for ourselves in our household and in our relation to the people that we are with. So there's a level which is called das ne'elam, which is like a wisdom that's kind of hidden. It's in Hebrew, ne'elam is it kind of disappeared. But it also means Helen, also like hidden. And the more we do this type of work, the more this wisdom gets activated, and this wisdom within us that gets more and more revealed, it activates God and His will to more desire to give us more and more blessings. So it's like an activation measure of to arouse, as it were, God, when we first do the first steps to arouse ourselves to love Him. I mean, you've seen it in your life where somebody just loves your children or loves you, and you're like, they pay so much attention to you, they are extra kind to you, do extra favors for you, and like by that deed or deeds that they have done, it arouses you to like really appreciate them and love them. So as much as we do that in prayer to like say to Hashem, thank you for everything you've done for me, and pay attention to all these favors that He does for us, that arouses Him to then want to bestow more and more blessings upon us, which actually helps us reach to the third level of love, which is this ahava b'tanugim, which is, ta'anug is like this incredible like delight, where a person can reach higher and higher levels of love, where all you want to do, like the ultimate level, hopefully, and that's going to really happen when Mashiach comes, when our heart and our mind will be so free, we will see the truth, and it'll not even be a struggle for us to want to do God's will. And if you look at the chachlili, which in the pasuk it says that word means bloodshot, but if you look at it and separate the words, chach also represents like a type of word chech, which is like your palate, and as if to say like, when something is tasty to your taste buds, you're like, oh, I want more. Like so, chach li, like I want more and more of you, Hashem. I want to be connected to you and have a union and oneness with you more and more. Like the little I did, the little prayer here and the little learning is not enough, and I want more to spend time to be in your company in all of your spiritual practices. And as if to say, like, this is to my liking, having this, like, private time with you, Hashem. It's not a struggle. I don't have to choose between this and that. It organically now comes so freely and so beautifully that that I can just really not have the struggle anymore. So, and when I was reading this time, I was thinking, like, if you think about love and relationships with people, like, it's very easy to sometimes only see what's, like, how they're not, rather than what is the good in them. So, again, I was thinking, like, how can we take this message into our lives and use it in a very practical way, besides just, meditating more on God's greatness as He is in the world, and besides, trying to tap into this greater love, where it's not so much of a struggle and ends up being gifted to us, this delightful love where there's less and less of a struggle. But in our relationships, besides the fact that we want the blessings from Hashem, just like, to have an easier, better life and be able to live in our own skin, like, because that's so hard sometimes when you have to face yourself every day, the person that you're not and the person you wanted to be with your children or your spouse or whoever. Besides all that, I was thinking there's another message, and the message that we could learn is how to pay attention to all the good those people who are in our lives, so that we can develop a greater love for them and a greater appreciation, instead of, like, in the end of the day, like, oh, I can't believe they did that, and it so annoyed me, like, why didn't they help me, or why didn't they, and then you just have this bitter feeling and you go to sleep like with just this lack of positive regard for some of the most important people in your life, and then the next day you wake up carrying what you just so focused on before going to sleep even, and then another day and another day, and the blockages between one and the other can start to really develop. So if we can, as we daily appreciate our Maker, our Creator, for all the good that He does, and yes, there's things that seemingly is not like that we would say we can even appreciate, children do not appreciate when we say to them, no, you can't have 10 scoops of ice cream. We know it's for their good. They don't get it. So God sometimes seemingly gives us a no answer to our prayer, and seemingly gives us something not to our liking. But yet we know deep down inside that yes, He is our Creator, and He designed it perfectly the way we had to experience that event or that episode or whatever it was, and focus on what does appear in our basar anayim, in our flesh, in our eyes, that is actually so good in our life, and try not to focus on the things that aren't so great, and not focus, why didn't God help me, and what is it, He's punishing me, or He doesn't love me, and all these kinds of very negative ruminations that disturb our relationship with God. So too, we got to fight through that and work through it in our relationships with our loved ones, to focus on, yes, what they do provide us. And especially we women, because it's very easy to look down at the opposite sex and our children, because they haven't been gifted with a kind of keen empathy and maybe spiritual connection. They haven't been gifted with extra wisdom. We women, we are taught, have binah. We're taught that we have the power to develop the seed of our men, physically their seed. Also, we have the power to develop their seed, their kingship, their greatness, as well as our children. The Babich Rebbe said that we women light Shabbos candles because we have the power to really bring out their light. So where can we every day more judge favorably and pay attention to what they really do give us? Some women don't work and their husbands go to work. Some men take care of the bills and all the paperwork so that women can have more time with their children or do chesed, There's always something, that is worth paying attention to, worth feeling very blessed that they're in our lives. And the more we don't take it for granted, because maybe deep down inside you really appreciate it, but you don't really think about it every day. And so you just live your life almost like roommates, because we're all doing our part. I'm working hard, he's working hard, move, next, you know what I mean? So daily appreciating, daily focusing on our loved ones and what they do give us in the physical world will help develop a greater love for them, so that it will be a more delightful love. So it will lead to a more even, betanug, an experiential love, not something hidden, buried. You love them, and only you hear some bad news that happened to them, and you don't know where they are, and you worry. And all of a sudden, gushing forth all these feelings of how much you love them. Why should we wait for those moments? We should not wait for those moments. We should every day tap into it, that feeling. I once lived in Israel for 15 years. And the day I left, I didn't leave thinking I was leaving. I left to go to a wedding of my cousins. My sister was having a baby. And before you know it, 8 years since that day I left, I never came back in those 8 years. And then eventually, 8 years later, I got to see my family and everyone. Don't ask, it was how it all happened those 8 years. But, so you might be curious. I was, we stayed first for the first year and a half to be there with my sister, because her husband was diagnosed with leukemia. They said it would be a 3-month treatment, maybe 6. It ended being a 1.5 years. Then I got very sickly for 5.5 years, and it was very hard for me to travel. And 8 years later, and I remember the feeling like every year, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even really leave them with that big hug and that, like, as if I knew I was going to come back in a month or whatever, it was a couple of weeks. Like, I didn't, like, hold them if I'm not going to see them for 8 years, you know? I had no clue. And I remember coming back feeling like as if Tchias HaMeisim, and it was like a revival of the dead. I remember feeling such a gushing feeling of appreciation for the moment that we had, because I didn't know who knows next what happened. And in fact, who knows next? I ended up leaving Israel ultimately, and living, out of Israel. Never in my wildest dream I thought I was going to continue living in Israel for a whole nother reason. But and I remember that feeling of gushing. Like, it was so magical, and I'm like, wow, like, I wish I could tap into this feeling like every day, and like really show how much I appreciate, and that I'm sorry I didn't leave and say goodbye to you, like as if who knows, the next hour I'm not going to see you. Like, imagine, okay, it's a tall order, but imagine incorporating a little that, every day, and bring some magic into the situation of the day-to-day interactions with the people in your life. And I remember, like, at one point, when I was going through this, like, I wish I could hold on to this feeling of delight and magical feeling. And I happened to be waiting online, and there was Everything is Magical song as I was waiting on a phone line for a technician to fix I think it was my washer or dryer. And I'm like, yes! Everything I do should be magical. Like, so when I see and I interact with them, they see how much I appreciate them, how much I love them. And yeah, fairy tale, like we could, laugh at, how can we? But we can have more of those moments. Whether it's Erev Shabbat, right before candlelighting, whether it's Motzei Shabbat, when we're all in a Havdalah scene, or when they're about to go off to school or off to work, like, we can incorporate more and more of those, like, magical, like, mystical moments of appreciation and love for them. And that takes time to, like, develop, just like it takes time to develop a love of God. Because all you're going to see is you didn't get the job, maybe, the kids are whatever, the husband is whatever, maybe sometimes, and you're just seeing whatever is not going right. And then you're, like, judging God unfavorably, God forbid. So the more you do these spiritual practices, pray and meditate and think of His greatness, learn Torah right after to bring the whiteness of who you really are, so that you can more easily judge favorably, so you can more easily get to this greater love called Kirish Pe'esh. It's like a fiery love. It's not just the worldly love and appreciation. It becomes like a passion of, like, a wildfire of like delight. And this is the gift that Hashem gives you when you make, the effort. And, I bless all of us, especially this year, when we've heard one day someone was here and the next day someone wasn't. And we know firsthand how in a blink of an eye life changes, and all of a sudden what's happened in the world, and so easily we just don't know what's the next day. And do what you can to access this greater love of God, so that you have access to your hidden treasures and blessings, to be able to love others in this most incredible way that brings so much harmony and love in your life, that it will become more pleasurable for you. Even though we're doing it really for the sake of God, we're doing it for the sake of the other, to act kindly and loving toward them for their sake, so that when they reciprocate to us that love, although it's nice, it's really mission accomplished. That they were able to follow our lead of what it is to be so, so full of love that our eyes will be like bloodshot, and the secrets of all of who we truly are, deep buried, becomes more and more like free and revealed, and then we have such a nachas where the people around us are really benefiting from our having put the time and investing the time to really tap into all these blessings that come our way. I was just so thankful for all of the teachings that were brought in my life, because I'm telling you, everything that I'm sharing with you today is through my own journeys of having had to battle that challenge of seeing the whole world dark, seeing God in a dark way, and seeing so many people in a dark way. And it was, as the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, you know, you have to put on like these, like his glasses, like and view like the world in a more truthful way, which the Torah teaches us how to do. So I welcome you to join more classes of mine. All my classes are free on Torah Anytime. They're on my website, yournewheights.com. I have also, Baruch Hashem, like 5 adult books with a lot of the information that has so changed my life, brought down from deep teachings of the Torah. And also, like, 25 children's books, 8 of which were translated in Yiddish, 1 in Spanish, 1 in Hebrew, and I think 15 in English, teaching these very important concepts to our children, so we don't have to have them wait to age, I don't know what, to get to this knowledge that is so helpful to enjoy ourselves and our own skin, and understand the process of what we need to do to really become that better self. And again, thank you so much for tuning in.
Great, thank you so much, Rebbe. It was so inspiring and so beautiful. It was so much appreciated. Can I open the floor for Q&A?
Yes, definitely. Question and answers. I'm here.
Yes. Okay, amazing. Just a minute, please. Okay, everyone, hi. Anyone has a question or a comment from Rebbe Yerushalmi?
I have a question.
Yes, please, God, I'll have some way to answer.
First of all, thank you for your knowledge and your background and your wonderful. So, I wanted to ask some questions. One is, how is it that the Jewish woman is such an epitome of strength and hidden power? And the second one is, how much of Eishes Chayil do we apply to ourselves? And the third one is, why is it that some women have a greater Yetzer Hara than other women?
So I guess I'll address the last one first. The reason why some people have a greater Yetzer Hara, it could be because they have less reincarnation, so they didn't do as much of the work in previous reincarnations. So we are taught some are higher souls. So the higher the soul, the higher the Yetzer Hara. So it looks like you're the lowest of the low because you have a big Yetzer Hara. That's in fact the opposite. The higher you are, the higher Yetzer Hara you can have. As I constantly are teaching people, when you see someone, this is from the deep teachings of the Torah, when you see someone with such, let's say, a really unbelievable, nasty, even wicked temperament, that's their weakness is their greatest strength. They're so super holy because they have so much extra gifted to them that it ends up being snatched by the Yetzer Hara and becoming the biggest weapon to, bring them down. So it appears as if they're the lowest of the low, but they're really the highest of highest, including Pharaoh and Esau were very, very high souls. But everyone has free choice, and they ended up choosing, the direction of the opposite of good. So, and yes, the question about the percentage of you said what percentage of focus to be an Eishes Chayil? I want to make sure I understood the question.
How much of Eishes Chayil?
Into English, please? I don't understand.
Oh, Eishes Chayil is a terminology used as like a woman of valor, and that she really is the anchor of her home. It's like, she can direct the home to go one way or the other, and like a warrior, a chayal is a chayelet in Hebrew for a woman, because it's like it's very challenging. It's like it's a war going on, and she has to be like strong like a warrior to combat the challenges of raising children, of being a wife, of bringing children into the world, and doing all that she does, and carry the load, just like she carries the load of the pregnancy. So what percentage of that? I didn't get the question exactly. Sorry. If you can be a little more specific, or maybe there's a bad connection here.
How much of Eishes Chayil? Sorry. How much of Eishes Chayil should we apply to our lives? How much should we try to be like that poem on Friday night?
100% if you can, but of course it's baby steps. I always say a baby doesn't go from crawling to running a marathon. So we're trying to more and more be that, woman of valor. We're more and more, working on patience, tolerance, compassion, and being that role model for our children. Now, we're not going to get there in a blink of an eye. And we don't and can't demand ourselves that we'll be 100%. But the goal is more and more throughout every day, and more reach that goal and get closer to that goal. And there's a pasuk in Hebrew, and I'll explain in English. Yagati umatzati tamid. You put the effort in. Yagati means I have arrived because I put the effort. And trust me, 33 years I'm counseling people and brain training them, and spiritual brain training, I call it, of the martial arts of the mind. And people are changing like so incredibly, in such a short period of time compared to back in the days where even the Gemara teaches us that to change a midah is 120 years. Whereas now, within a month to a year, you could really have incredible transformations. Because now we have the pnimiyut, the inner essence and the inner secrets of the Torah to direct us and guide us. So one of the books I wrote is Reaching New Heights Through Health and Happiness, and another book I wrote was Reaching New Heights Through Prayer and Meditation. And those two books give you the tools from the deep teachings of the Torah of how to become your best self. And then I wrote a marriage book, so Reaching New Heights Through Kindness in Marriage, and there's also a workbook, a beautiful workbook that goes with it. And so that the more knowledge you have about being with the directives of how to get there, the more expedient your results will be. If if you're swimming in an ocean and you don't have the map and you don't have the ship and you don't have the captain and you're clueless, you could go swimming forever and not reach your destination. So too, if you're swimming in the wars of the Yetzer Hara and you're swimming in the wars of the financial and the physical life that you have to get the things done, and you don't get the map from the Torah and you don't get a guidance from the sages who guide us how to use this map and use the ship appropriately, then we end up 20, 30 years not changing, God forbid. And trust me, until these teachings came into my life, I wanted to be a best person when I was 10 years old, I remember, and 15 years old, and 18, and 20, and 30, and 36, until I was like 36 is when I started studying all this. And then I started changing, and then I started really changing, and then I started giving it to others, and they're really changing.
Wow.
And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that, like, that when the sea and the Jewish people witnessed the Kriyat Yamsuf, and there was 2 walls of water as they were crossing. Why make a double miracle? God doesn't like to do double miracles. And the reason why, it was a metaphor that we need prayer and meditative prayer and meditative learning, Torah, to protect us from the enemies so that we can reach the destination of our holy land, of our riches, of our treasures, of our godly essence. And without those 2 as a protectorate, we can get swallowed up by the waves of the world. And so definitely the Eshes Chayil is the one who's going to be the example. She's going to pray, and she's going to learn, and the family's going to see how much she's calm, and how much she's loving, and how much she's more patient, and they'll see the difference, and they'll see, this is Torah I wanted. But if the children and all the people around you are witnessing you're frazzled and anxious and impatient and judgmental and bitter, then this is Torah? What is good is this Torah for me? The Eshes Chayil is the one. The Rebbe said, like, she more than the man has to daven and learn Torah, because she's the one that brings the warmth of Yiddishkeit in her house. The man is cold and rational level of it, mostly, compared to the woman. She has the warmth. She has the passion more. And she will bring to the children that vivaciousness and joy and delight in being a true Yid, a true Jew. So yes, it's a tall order, but God gave us a tall order of a soul to be able to accomplish that. Yes, we have to carry the baby, but He gave us the womb. He gave us the nursing bosoms to nourish our family. And we can't let the Yetzer Hara steal us away from the gifts that we have within us so that we can shine and we can be the example. So I hope that was a little helpful. Because a lot of women, they feel, why is it that we have to carry the load? Why is it we, it's our responsibility? It should be 50-50 of responsibility to keep this house straight on track. I don't know. God created the world. It's His plan. My limited intellect cannot fathom the infinite wisdom of Hashem. But I say, God, I always thank Hashem. Really, when I look at that prayer in the morning and thank Hashem that I'm a woman, I really celebrate that I'm a woman. I really feel my feminine. We had a class today on femininity. I really love my feminine powers that God gave me, that the opposite sex does not have as much as I. But His oppositeness of me is needed, because we need both to make this house work. But every time I really am thankful. There's a beautiful book by, I think his name is Raskin, Rabbi Raskin, but it's Thank God I'm a Woman. I highly suggest women to read it, and I've given a class on it. This is on Torah Anytime. But wow, when you read all the unbelievable information of in that book, it just makes you so proud to be a woman, and you don't feel the burden as much, and you don't feel why me and why womanhood and why I have to carry the load more than they do in that regard, regarding being an example to get the children to want to have Torah and mitzvot and cling to God.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lisa. Two things. One is when you were talking about wine and how it shows the truth, I was a very secular adult, and the first time I did Tom here, I really didn't expect it to be so like beautiful, and I'd grown up going, to bars and whatever. So when I saw the real truth come out, like, there wasn't anything but beauty, I was very surprised. I really thought it was going to be different. So that was an eye-opener, that even when people were drunk, they were really still, the truth and Torah and whatever. I thought that was beautiful.
That's beautiful to hear.
So, yeah. I had to be honest, I had a whole different, this is not going to be what the people are saying.
Right.
And it wasn't. It was the real, it really was what they were saying. So that impacted me. And what you just said about how, thankful to be a woman, I've been seeing a few things online, as many people have, with Julia Hart, and one thing she keeps saying is, the whole thing about, saying how the prayers about, how men say, thank God I'm not a woman, and all this, how she's like really changing, she's basically screwing around with, everybody, she's really changing up.
Really
people think a certain thing, and, having people believe all these half-truths about everything.
Right, even so, I
feel bad because I have posted on social media, like when she posts things, there's different vlogs, and I've actually posted things like, she's not exactly telling even her home story. She can say her story, but it's not even her story.
Right.
Like, there's somebody here, the Rebbitzin here knows somebody that actually was at her school or something, and she said it's not even her story. It's all half-truth. And the other thing I want to say is, I always say this, please come to Norfolk, Virginia and speak.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
I want all of you to,
Yeah,
so that's the other thing.
Wait, you're in North Virginia? I used to go to Virginia to speak, actually. We might have been together.
I'm not originally from here, but this is where I live.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so, wow, I guess you can ask the people around you to be in touch, and we can one day...
I want Ivy to come, but she can't either. So.
Okay, well then you'll have to come to me until then.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Any more questions before we...
What is, yeah. Sorry. Lynn, I admire your passion and your conviction, but I was wondering if you could share with us some just practical things that we could do besides.
So the practical things that I suggested is the prayers, is spending time learning Torah. There's no better like remedy.
Is there anything in addition to that?
I mean, there is for sure, but those are like side things that are supplements. So I'll give you some of the supplementary tools, and that is visualizing yourself succeeding in the way that you want to succeed in. Visualize the other people becoming more refined the way you would love for them to be refined. There is what I call a kosher language diet as a tool. Like, really train yourself to speak less. And just like when you're on a diet and you don't eat as much food and you restrict the calories or restrict, food intake, restrict the words you say until you have more self-mastery over your mouth. And, there's a teaching in the Rambam, you go to the tzad kitzoni, which you go to the, extreme opposite behavior to, land in the middle way. So if you're very, very stingy, then just spend and give gifts and spend so that you'll get to the middle road. Or if you're, you're so loud and you're so, whatever, then work on being the opposite for a while so that you'll have the middle ground of whatever you're working to attain. I highly suggest changing the way you eat, because it's a whole book on health and happiness, because the way you eat affects your mental and emotional well-being. So that's really a major ingredient, because if you're not eating correctly, eating chocolates all day and sugar and skipping meals, you're a nervous wreck, and your brain is like, besides brain fog, but like malnourished, and it doesn't have the strength to like cope with the stress. Practical tools is things like that only you have the strength to do when you pray and learn. Because no matter how much you take a 12-step program, and no matter how much you do these other types of modalities to change yourself, if you're not doing it from the perspective of redeeming your soul, there's always some other negative character trait that will be coming out at you. There's always some area that, let's say you conquered your overeating, but then you'll overshop. Like, if you don't get to the core, soul redemption, then there's always something around the corner that will need fixing, basically. I mean, we always constantly are working and refining ourselves, but I hope you got my point, that and the more you read my books and listen to more of my classes, you'll understand that the redemption of your godly soul comes through the learning and from the praying and the learning, and then it's organic. It's like the true you comes out, so you don't have to recreate yourself. You don't have to like break your teeth and break your back trying to change your midot. It just the whiteness of Torah washes away, the negative. As I always say from Hasidus, if there's darkness, it's just an absence of light. And once you turn on the light, then these negative emotions begin to dissipate, and the positive emotion more and more get revealed.
It goes hand in hand.
Right. So the Rebbe Rashav in Kuntras Tefillah said that there's people who daven and learn 3 times a day, and even learn the deepest teachings of Torah, and they're crass and rude, and they can say lashon hara, they can speak really badly, and but the key ingredient is meditative prayer and meditation, like where now you don't have to go close your eyes and but like really do it in a most humble, earnest, and contemplative way, rather than just saying words. And that's where midot begin to have a chance to change. But if it's just blah, 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 and even if you're learning and you're so inspired in the moment, it doesn't do anything to effectuate unless it lands in your heart. And it can't land in your heart if you didn't have a good open heart surgery for the knowledge to come into your heart. If your heart is blocked because you didn't pray, and you're learning and you're having excitation, that excitation is real and it was delightful. But in order for that whiteness to happen, it needs to enter your heart where the darkness is. And the only way to open your heart is through deep meditative prayer. Hopefully you'll get my book and you'll learn more about that. I hope that was useful and helpful.
It was good, thank you.
Thank you. So blessings,
Can I ask you?
Yes, there's another question. Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to know what's the meditation in prayer?
So the book is called Reaching New Heights Through Prayer and Meditation, and it goes through the Kabbalistic deep teachings of the Torah of how to pray, with what kavanah in each part of the davening, so that your rectification of the animal soul and the sweetening spice to turn the Yetzer Hara to Yetzer Tov will happen. So I can give one example if you want. I don't know how much time we have here, and if there's another speaker. I was supposed to only speak a half an hour, but there were so many questions. We're into the hour, so I don't want to...
It's fine. fine. As long as you have time for us, and we have the questions, we're open.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you so much. It's really special of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we know that the Beit HaMikdash is not here physically, and the replacement of the Beit HaMikdash is our tefillot. So what did they do when they went to the Beit HaMikdash is what we're doing today in the Siddur, in our praying session. So the Alter Rebbe talks about this in Lukatei Torah, and it's brought down from the Zohar. Oh, thank you. And it says that the people would bring the korban as a representation of their midot. So if someone had an angry, goring personality, they would bring...
I just want to...
Oh.
Korban is a sacrifice. Not everyone understands the Hebrew word.
Oh, sorry, korbanos, you're right. Yes, thank you.
Right. It's important to translate. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the korbanos is in English sacrifice. It would come with a sacrifice. There was a meal offering, and before really studying this, it was really hard for me because I was it was very hard to think of like animals being sacrificed. I was vegetarian for many years until I finally understood like God made these things for us to elevate and use. But I was in those days, like when I was a vegetarian, because I didn't want to kill animals, whatever. But now I know that the killing of animals for our benefit. God made them for us to really increase in our health and our mind power through all the groups, the food groups. But anyway, so the animal that was brought as a sacrifice represented their character traits. So if someone had a goring, angry personality, they would bring an ox. If someone had a stubborn personality, they would bring a goat. If someone had a lustful personality, they would bring a sheep because sheep are lustful. I didn't know, but and if someone would have too much, issues with how they spoke, they would bring a bird, because birds chirp. So the idea is that we would bring to Hashem, this is my midah, I need you to help me get rid of it. And in the Beit HaMikdash, there was a miraculous fire that would consume the animal, basically saying, I can't help myself. I can only turn to you, God, and you will help me transform myself. My prayers now are in replacement of the Beit HaMikdash. I'm turning to God in prayer and saying, only you can help me refine my anger. Only you can refine my anxieties and my temperaments. I can't do it. I need you. Here is my animal. Please, shechte, get rid of it. Send your salvation. Send your help in getting rid of this in me. And that's what we do every day in prayer. So we can meditate. We can think about what is the specific character trait that we've been so yearning and longing to refine, and we haven't been able to. And in fact, getting worse over the years, which is a whole reason why the Yetzer Hara grows as we grow if we don't do this work. And our brain gets physically weaker over the years if we don't do this work. Physically, our brain isn't as strong. So our emotions get stronger and stronger. If we don't do this type of brain training and davening, brain training, I call it brain training because it's really training our brain to work most efficiently. So that's one meditation we can do in prayer. Yes, go ahead.
That when I pray, I cannot concentrate, and my mind goes all over.
Yes, so that...
bothers me very much.
Yes, but the prayers are called, I'm going to say it in Hebrew first, Shas Milchama. It's a time of war. And the Yetzer Hara, this evil inclination, is overtime working hard to steer you away from accomplishing this devekus and unity with Hashem. So it'll bombard you.
I hear you say that.
What?
Oh my God. She has an evil inclination?
All of us have this Yetzer Hara. I don't like the evil inclination terminology. That's why I don't say it. But when I am in a group that may not know what Yetzer Hara is, it's like it's a voice that's contrary to God's will, that tries to baffle you and confuse you and steal you away. It's hired worker from Hashem. It's not really evil, but it's translated as the good inclination and the evil inclination. You've heard that, right? Maybe not.
You know, my rabbi from Chabad, he has always taught us that Hashem helps those who help themselves. Not that Hashem's just going to do it all for us. We just pray to Him.
No, but we have to show up so that He can be aroused to help us. And showing up, and of course we have to pray, we have to learn, we have to meditate, we have to do things, we have to make sure not to eat too much garbage food that affects our brain. Of course we can't just rely on Him. But this is teachings from the deep teachings of our Rebbes, so I'm just passing on information to you, and it's been so effective on some of the most severe clientele, whether it's bipolar, whether it's like OCD, and whether it's suicidals, and whether it's paranoias, and serious people and their serious mental problems. And this service...
And you've helped them with just
prayer and meditation and learning Torah and changing their diet. You'll read it in my book on the health and happiness. I call it the cognitive behavioral Torah therapy approach, because it's a holistic approach to getting the spiritual aspect of your life aligned so that you have the maximum success of transformation. Okay, so I have family here, and it was so great to be part of this group, and I just really hope that we continue a connection here, and that it continues to guide you to the truth of what really we need to do to draw down for ourselves all these hidden blessings, including the hidden blessings of our true self.
Amen. Rebbetzin, I have one question from you.
Yes.
Now, yes, thank you so much. It was so beautiful and so inspiring, and thank you so much for your time. It was really, really out of this world. Let me ask you a question, Rebbetzin. Would you be able to help us, email me, like a prayer, like you were talking about deep meditation?
Yes.
So we have women on the line that don't read Hebrew yet, but they really want to connect to Hashem in a deep way. So sometimes it's easier to connect through an English prayer. Do you have like a sample general English prayer that, like, just a few lines, just like a few minutes, I don't think, every day, so the women can deeply, meditate and connect and pray to Hashem through those words, through those prayers? Do you have something like that?
Yeah, I could send it to you, and hopefully you'll email it out to them. I want to say, like, for those of you who are beginning in the process of learning how to pray, even just starting with a Modani prayer, which is just like waking up and really thanking God for all the blessings that you have, is a great start, and acknowledging and paying attention to the things like we began this class, the things that you have in this world because of God. Even that is a great start. And recent research shows that being grateful and spending some time increases your happy chemicals and decreases your stress hormone, cortisol. So what we are now taught in science, we knew a long time ago. Hashem says, wake up and say Modani. Take some time and be grateful. And include a little bit the grateful feelings you have toward the family members. Please God, your love for God will grow, your love for your family members and all of your community will grow, and you'll just be a fire of love. All right, I'll send it to you. Please God. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Hi, Steve.
Yes, hi.
Hi,
Vayechi, and we spoke today, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.